inspire exhilaration, and the technology to customize every ride. Packaged to create a luxury ride like no other. Introducing the most premium personal watercraft on the market. The 2021 FX Series from Yamaha.
Morning. I'm in a much better mood today than I was yesterday when it was raining and we were doing my most favorite thing, camping in the rain. But it was all worthwhile. We've seen off hopefully the bad weather. Now we're going to hit the queue for the launch here. Life jacket, check. One packing system, check. And gloves, check. Check, how's this color coding? Huh? How's this? Look at it. Can't even tell the jacket from my fingers. Game plan today? Well, it would have been to be on a kayak, but my cameraman, my editor, my boss, Cameron, camera boss, he said no, I need to be on the boat.
This is my first time fishing in Cape Vidal and I'm very, very excited. I was holding back a bit because I was a bit nervous for the launch, but then I just said to myself, always say yes to new adventures and gonna go for it. And I'm hoping to catch a good game fish like a kuta or a tuna or maybe hopefully a prodigal son. So yeah, let's just see what the day holds and yes to new adventures.
We'll probably play it as we see what's happening out on the water. If there's bait and there's fish around nearby, well then we just fish close, because then you don't need to go far because the fish are here. So yeah, hopefully there's fish right here and then we can get some good action, get some good footage, and then hopefully I can get on the kayak this afternoon. I'll have to ask Cam's permission though, of course. Okay, thank you. I thought we were gonna go. Well done, BK. Shot, bro. Well done. Shot. Morning, welcome to Cape Vidal. What a cracker, hairy launch.
Evening, guys. Sorry, I'm not sure. I think we are now. Welcome to the Go Fish weekly wrap this week. And this week we are joined by a few club representatives. We've got Byron Kane from Umschlager Ski Boat Club, Justin Painter from representing Durban Ski Boat Club and Umschlager Ski Boat Club. Is that right, Justin? And we've got Grant Decker there representing UKFC. Oh, sorry, I mean Jamie Wardell. Jamie, drinking, and Jason Pretorius from NCKFC. So I'm sure Decker would have loved that trip. Guys, welcome. Glad you're here. And
Cheers.
we're going to have Ali joining us later, Alistair France from Belito Ski Boat Club. He's got a work crisis. But Byron, what was your chirp when I said he's got a work crisis?
I see he doesn't work, he only fishes.
Guys, so before we sort of get into it, yourselves, have you guys been fishing much lately? I know Jamie got a bone the other week morning, bonefish.
I was when the snook were here once or two or three times, but that's about it. Yeah, okay. I think they might still be here.
Yeah, you just got to get on the water. Eh?
Yeah,
Jace, you haven't really been on the water. Eh?
No, I haven't really. Hey. Lately, we've been quite busy with work, and summer's coming, so we want to spend a lot of time on the water. So I'd rather put my head down in winter and work as much as I can, so when summer comes, and actually spend a bit of time on the water. But I see there has been some fish around, so I feel like I have missed out.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. Eh? But I was on the water the other day, and Justin was there as well, but we still missed out. I think everyone blobbed that Saturday afternoon. If the snook had been flat out in the morning, and then there's quite a few of us out there, not one snook was landed.
It's been strange. The guys have been getting them flat out in the morning and nothing in the afternoon, or vice versa. And in the morning you'll get all snook. In the afternoon they go and they can't get a snook. They can only get kingfish and stuff.
Oh, really? There were a few of those little kingies around, but they weren't as wild as they'd been at Umschlager before. Yeah. DK, how's your side?
Yeah, well, I think last weekend the weather wasn't great, so we didn't get out. But I think there's been a bit of a switch this week. It looks like. So I think that the quality of water is definitely playing a role in the overall picture, because there's been a big change in the SARDs. The SARDs have been sitting off the coast here now, probably about the last month, if not more. So if you go out to sort of like the 30, 40 meter line or a bit deeper onto the middle reef, the SARDs are running from there as far as you can see all the way down. So they've definitely been there, but the game fish really haven't been here. But there's been an odd sort of cooter popping up in amongst this snook and maybe a tuna here and there, but it hasn't really been any sort of fireworks until this last week. I think this week there's been some really good catches. Obviously, the guys like to keep it quiet. The snook definitely they're popping up here and there, and it just depends. They are a killer. I really hate fishing for them. They're great when they're there and feeding, but when they're not, then it's hard work. But if you see now, I think this week the tuna is starting to arrive. A couple of fish came out this week. I think Schloti Way and up at Belito, I saw one of 29 came out today, and some better sized fish as well down south. Between the 30 and 40 kilo mark. So the fish are healthy, so they're feeding. And I just think that quality of water on the inside determines whether they come off the SARDs, which are sitting in that slightly deeper water, and start hunting a bit shallower. But it looks like back at that west, we had the whole weekend of west. So although the water may not have got much cleaner, although down south it looked like it had definitely got cleaner. We were down the south coast when we came back. I think the quality of water might have just improved. We've had real. When I talk about quality, I'm talking about, the actual, not the color necessarily, but the actual quality in terms of oxygen in the water and all the crap that's coming out, that has been coming out the river. So I think it's on that sort of knife edge now. It's going to start turning on, and as those SARDs, if they do disappear, they might just sit around again like they did last year till late, October, November. But I really think that west that we had over this last weekend has brought some better water in terms of quality water in, and now we're starting to see the tuna start popping up, and they're healthy because they've been feeding. And even on the bottom, the bottom fishing side, the beck that the guys are getting now are 10 kilos. We haven't had 10 kilo beck for a good few years that I can remember. You get decent size 7, 8, but now it's becoming quite regular. The guys are reporting, fish of 10 kilos plus on the Helbeck side, which again is talking towards the fact that they're eating well. So yeah, I think June is always a sketchy month, and July, when the sards arrive, pulling the fish, moving them around. I think now we're starting to get into the meaty side. I think we're going to start seeing some decent fish coming out in the next week or two. We've got this weekend is the Natal Interzonal, so there's probably about 10 or 12 teams fishing down at Warner Dune. So that'll show up if there's any fish around. You'll be working down towards the shoal area, so a bit more pressure down there in terms of rods in the water, and there's good skippers involved here, so they're going to be spreading themselves all over the place. So we'll see quite a good sign, I think, on that in terms of what's really happening, because they won't be hiding too many fish there. They've got to come to the scales.
Yeah, there was actually an interesting catch today. I don't know if anyone heard about it, but obviously yesterday there was a few tuna out on Eastmore. Old Eric from Burundi or wherever he's from. It was quite a funny story. We popped that on the weekly wrap sometime. We doubled up, and he never wants to double up again. But he got a few tuna yesterday, and obviously as soon as the fish pop out somewhere, everyone flocks there. And apparently there's quite a few skis on the water, but no tuna came out at East. But one of the guys, a dog of about 12 kilos on the top. So that was all that came out. So quite interesting.
Justin, what's happening your side? You've got your finger on the pulse there.
Yeah, the water looked good at Umsluit this afternoon when I got home, But yeah, I believe the water is lekker up north as well. I'm going to head up north this weekend and see what's happening up that side. But yeah, I believe there's a couple of fish around. Some of my mates got some nice yellowfin over the last week or so. So yeah, they're definitely coming through.
In terms of like at your guys' individual club, what's the fishing been like? Have the do you find
mostly been guys going for snook?
Even like club members sort of in this period? I know obviously there's been a few kayakers out on the water, but have there been any sort of interest in any of the clubs?
A lot of our guys.
Anyone?
A lot of our guys have been getting into the slow pitch with the slow level of.
Sorry, guys, we seem to have lost. We lost everyone. Are you there?
Oh, we're there.
So the guys have been getting into a bit of slow pitching on the kayaks, and that's been quite interesting. Some of the catches that have been coming out on that side. So we actually had Dwayne Boshoff do a talk at the Umhlanga Ski Boat Club last night on slow pitching, which it's quite interesting, and it's quite a nice different sort of facet when there's nothing much going on. You can always muster something up on the slow pitch, especially on the kayaks when you're on those shallow reefs. Can produce some nice fish and some good fun on the lights, just using your standard snook spinning rod and getting some good catches.
Well, the other day we from Schleitz, I fished with one of your paddle ski mates, old Matt Swimmer, and we managed to get a 9.5 kilo half cob on a slow pitch, which was great fun. So yeah, it's definitely a different type of fishing that I think a lot of guys are going to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely the the slow pitch, and that, I mean, it's been around a bit, and there's been quite a few guys, I think, who've actually become sort of specialists in that field. And it is, if you, and around the time now again when it's sort of quiet, if the snook go off, just this time of the year, it's a great option to be able to go to, because you can have some great fun, especially if you lighten up, and you start fishing light tackle, and your general sort of species there is besides every now and again, if you get stuck into the GT and that sort of thing, but your general species can be anything from sort of about 2 to 7 or 8 kilos if you're into a yellow spot, and I think it's a great option. I think it's, and most of those species are species you want to be releasing. So, and slow pitch jig is generally in the gob, so it's in the side of the mouth and that sort of thing. So it's quite a clean hookup, which allows you to release those type of species, although you're targeting them. So definitely continue to grow, because it's quite an easy thing to get into. You don't have to be highly skilled in rigging baits and tying traces and those things. So for the beginners that are getting out in the water, I think it's definitely something they should start, putting into their arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, before we divert too much, and we can start talking tactics and tackling, and we'll be here all night. We're going to chat quite a bit about fishing clubs and clubs in general. So, just the topic we'll kick off with is the importance of joining a club. So, like, for each of you guys, obviously you're highly involved in your club. You have been for years. Just for people who are like either haven't joined a club or new to the sport, or they're looking to join another club, what is your sort of take? I'll start with you. What's the importance you find for joining a club?
Thanks, Brendan. I mean, obviously, the whole point of these clubs that we've set up for the kayakers and stuff is a lot of the guys that get into kayak fishing don't always know anything about the sport. They might never been out in the water. They don't know the safety that's involved. They don't know that they need to wear life jackets, that they need to have kids out with them, phones, make sure people know where they're going, buddy up, things like that. So I think the point of the clubs is they can give them a platform where they can meet new people, meet friends, make buddies, ask questions. Not be afraid to ask something that might seem like a silly question to somebody who's a seasoned paddler. But for new guys getting into a sport, they don't know everything. And they certainly don't know the basics. So by setting up these clubs, it gives the new guys an option to actually meet the guys who know what they're doing, ask questions, and find out what safety precautions they should be taking to make sure that they can get on the water, have fun, and catch fish, but also be safe at the same time.
Yeah, that's actually that's a very good point, because like you say, a lot of guys, and you'll often find that when there's an incident and you find the guys involved, they're not members of a club because they haven't sort of gone the route of, like you said, of finding out the right specifics from the club, buddying up with mates, and following all the safety protocols, etc. That the clubs drum into. I'm talking kayaks now, but like NCKFC and UKFC, both of the clubs are very, very good at sort of drumming into the guys' heads the safety precautions. Jamie, you guys also, that's a very strong point of yours as well at UKFC, eh?
No, for sure. I think it's also getting the stickers on your boats, and when invariably, like I say, if something happens, it's either myself or Jason that will get called for by the NSRI guys. Do you know who this person is? We've seen a kayak. Can you identify it? And I know the NCKC guys have their stickers on and their numbers, and they have a database that you can say number 21 is whoever, as do Scottborough and 032 and ourselves. And it just helps. If there was a story a while ago where a guy went fishing and someone thought he was in trouble and they couldn't get hold of him because the guy was busy filleting his fish. But had we known who it was, and he wasn't a club member, It was just a guy that had launched. But it's, in terms of joining a club, exactly what Jason says, to get out and meet guys, learn what the sort of protocols are. And I get a lot of people asking, I mean, for our club, it's $350 for the year. And I think NCKFC is about the same. And for the knowledge you get just from the bar chats on the WhatsApp groups is, I think, pays your $350 in school fees that you're going to donate, tackle, lose fish, etc., so much. It's worthwhile a few times over, and you get out of the clubs what you put in. So a perfect example is a guy like Storm Dalton, who started out kayak fishing, joined the club, and he was at every social, soaking up information, chatting to guys, asking the questions like Jason said, and he went from a beginner and a newbie to being in the top 10 in the Grand Slam, and doing really well. And I mean, I think as you're talking about earlier, Eric, I think he's recently joined NCKFC this year, I think, Jason, and the difference in his safety and his protocols and the fish that he's actually landing and getting. And never mind, I said to Jason a while ago, we need to get him a GoPro so we can watch these antics, because his stories are phenomenal. I mean, that would be a TV show all in its own, watching him getting on with this stuff. But yeah, he's another case in point where his fishing has come along since joining NCKFC this year.
Yeah, that's. And you're 100% right. You always see it, the guys, how their game just changes and how they improve. BK and Justin, I'll just jump onto you now, but just for the viewers, we've obviously got these guys in here, but we've kind of just focused a little bit on the Durban and just closer surrounds clubs. There's obviously a lot of good fishing clubs, kayak fishing clubs, ski boat clubs, all up and down the coast of KZN and all over the country. So it's by no means we leaving anyone out. It's just we're very limited in terms of how many guys we can chat to. But I mean, you've got, just in KZN, you've got Port Edward Ski Boat Club right down in the south. You've got Richards Bay in the north, St. Lucia. You've got Scottborough Kayak Fishing Club. There's clubs all over the place. So guys, if you're anywhere or even inland in Gauteng, there's clubs there. So yeah, get in touch with your local clubs and find out what they're about, find out what their fees are, and chat to them. Chat to the guys and go down to a couple of socials, and you'll meet like-minded guys, and you'll soon be joining, and you'll soon be improving on everything. So, Justin, I'll just to you quickly there then. You've been very involved with Durban Ski Boat Club for many years. You also involved with Umhlanga Ski Boat Club, and do you help run Umshloti Club at the moment? How are you involved there?
So I'm not on the committee at Umshloti. Obviously, to give advice when need be when they ask. I did help them with their third liability insurance cover through Club Marine. But yeah, I think joining the club, guys, I think at the end of the day, fishing's all about networking. I think if you've got a good network base, you know where the fish are coming out, you're going to spend more time on the water and you're going to have more fun. And I think when it comes to ski boating, obviously we're putting big crafts on the water, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to need a tractor to put them in, or you're going to need some type of operation to enable you to put your craft on the water. So I think when it comes to ski boating, you definitely have to join a club. Just with the facilities, I know Durban now, we've got 4 tractors. We've also got Umhlanga tractor there, so it makes it 5. And we have all the facilities there. And for your money, your value for money, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, and again, you're going to meet the guys at the wash bay. You're going to meet guys on the beach. You're going to have a social drink with them as well. And again, as everyone else has said, it's pretty much just about networking. And finding where the fish are. And
BK, you are chairman of Umhlanga Ski Boat Club now, but you've been a member for many, many years. And your what are your sort of thoughts? Obviously, I presume many of the same as what these guys are saying, the benefits and that, but see from being just a member up to being chairman, you see the sort of whole scope of it and what the benefits are of being a member.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there are so many benefits. I mean, and the thing is, there's a time to give back as well. So I think that's sort of very much where my mindset is. Fishing's been great to me over the years. I grew up in at Durban Ski Boat Club. I was member there for over 20 years, and then just through moving to where I was location wise, I moved to Michelongen and got involved there in about probably 15 years ago. But I think everyone who's in the show today is very much of the mindset of growing the sport. We've got to a stage where we've got a lot of experience, and we keep it in our back pocket and that every now and again, and everyone does because we're competitive. But I think everyone who's here tonight is also into sharing some of that knowledge. If you've got a large amount of knowledge, it doesn't mean you have to share everything. But something small for one of us will be something really big for someone who's entering the sport. So I think that's where the mindset really is. And also, if I look at over the years, all the clubs really ran in isolation, where at the moment, or what I've been driving through really for the last sort of 5 years or more is how to get the clubs to be more integrated at the end of the day. So whether it's through reciprocity or sharing launch sites or having competitions that that integrate two clubs. That's sort of what I've really been driving towards in the last sort of 10 years or 5-10 years. And I think the mindset's coming into all the clubs as well. So our launch site, we have a challenging launch site. Here at Mshlonga, it's Granny's Pool. Not many guys want to come and launch here. If it's on a high, it's dangerous to launch, so you really shouldn't be trying to push in, even for the most skilled. So Durban has opened their clubhouse to come and launch here, and we're building our relationship with Durban. We've got reciprocity with Durban. We're building with DUC. We're trying to get in with the kayak guys. We've offered reduced rates for the guys to come and join the club. And when jet skis came on the scene, probably around about 2012, which it started becoming more sort of club related. There was massive resistance to that. The feeling there was going to be 30 skis arriving and taking up your allocated 10 launches, and no ski boats would launch. And we've seen that hasn't been the case. So it's a mindset change, and you've got different ages, like in anything, like in business. You've got the old school and then the new school coming in, and you've got to sort of work through all those mindsets and try and get everyone going in the same direction. But at the end game really is to keep growing the sport. I mean, that's what it is, and to keep getting newbies in. And for me, the feed comes through from the juniors into paddle skiing, into jet skiing, or small boats, or rubber ducks, or Justin's rubber duck, and then you come into the man's world, of ski boats, or the costly world. Let's put it that way. And you'll always have your purists. The guy starts in rock and surf, that'll be in his heart. Paddle ski guys, his purists on the paddle ski guys. That's their game, and they don't want to move up. But there's a lot of guys, coming through like Storm. I mean, Storm's come through paddle skiing. He's on ski boat now. He's fishing inter clubs for Mshlonga, and he's moving up. So it's what you want at the end of the day. But the key thing is to allow those people to have the opportunity to start, whether it's at rock and surf or in a dam, to get on the paddle ski, to get on the jet ski, to get on the boat, and then go right through to colors, to SADSA, and ultimately Protea if you want to. And I think that's really what we all sort of trying to do, and continually to grow the sport and get that passion in the sport, because there's so much passion in the sport. You can see it, talking about the guys on the paddle ski. If you send him with a GoPro, you put Kirk every time he catches a fish, it's like his first fish he's ever caught. So that I think is what drives passion and keeps people coming back. And I think we've got a long way to go in terms of how do we make it more accessible, especially on the ski boating side, to those whose parents don't have a boat, but his kids are, keen to get on the water. And I think, that's why the junior comps that we've hosting, that Durban's been hosting, and I think other clubs I'm sure are doing as well, are key. Just introducing juniors into that who don't necessarily have access to ski boats. Their parents don't have it, because a lot of the time it's our kids that are coming through. But you want to spread the net wider and give everyone the opportunity, and that's really a big challenge at the moment because of the costs involved. I went into Kings today. I walked out of the packet and it was $2,000. I mean, there's some line and hooks and swivels. So those are all the sort of challenges around it. But I think the sport's alive and strong, and I think it's a lot to do with the paddle ski side. I think the paddle ski side really does open it up, and the more we can share knowledge and make it successful. I mean, if I go back to Go Fish, when we sat down and we wanted to get this whole sort of live streaming going, that was about sharing knowledge, because what I was seeing was guys were buying boats, getting into fishing, buying boats, and then selling their boats and exiting after 6 months to a year because they'd been out 6 times and blanked, and no one was willing to help them. They actually put them in the bush. Where do you get the fish? Or in the sea, north, and the guys were south, and all that sort of thing. So that's really where we come in, from Go Fish side, will say, guys, okay, let's just start sharing a bit of knowledge with the guys, even if it's basics. Get them on the water, let them get into a fish. And I think it might have started something, whether it did or not, maybe it was happening before. But you can see now also within the paddle ski guys, the guys are having socials, getting together, and willing to share a bit of more knowledge than before. It was just so tight and so huddled. I mean, you couldn't even get where the bait mark was, So I think that's the key thing, is that the information has become more accessible. I think that's something we have to keep working on.
I think also, just on that point, Justin, Byron, is that the clubs, that's where the clubs come in. So I'll get a lot of guys where they'll say people don't share information. And yes, no one's going to put a WhatsApp message out that I caught the fish wherever, because that can go so far and wide. But if you have the club, like we had the social, UKC had a social last night at Mhlanga Ski Boat Club, and Oaks are having a beer and you're talking to them face to face, and you've got a relationship with the guys. They have to say, hey, I caught such and such here. They'll give you that information, but they're not going to send you a WhatsApp you're going to share to 5 other groups. That's going to be 150 people on that mark. He's happy to tell you, or Oaks having a beer with him, and
100%,
and be social and get to those socials and the ski boat club and stuff like that.
I think it's really like what you guys were just saying now, is that how guys are a lot more there's a lot less tension between clubs and between facets of angling, like jet ski, kayak, and ski boats. It's always great to have that that competition and that friendly competition, but I think you definitely do see that there's a lot more like lekker vibe amongst different clubs and different sort of facets of angling. And that sort of brings me to the other topic, is that you can be a member of multiple clubs, and there are a lot of guys like that. There's a lot of guys, Jamie, Jace, that are members of even of members of Scottbro, like Jake. I think you probably a member of all of them.
Yeah.
And same there at your club, and BK. There's guys who are members of multiple clubs.
Yeah, I think there's a few guys also that do.
I think that's a good thing to waffle on. We could talk all night on. The next thing I was just wanted to. Sorry, carry on.
I was saying there's quite a few guys that also fish on different crafts. So you get guys that will fish on the kayak, then they'll be out on the jet ski, and then on the boat. And then they'll also associate with all those different groups. So you'll be on the jet ski group, and you'll be on the kayak group, and you'll be on the Belito or Mhlanga group. So you'll get to liaise, meet people from different facets, and as you say, bring them all together rather than having like an animosity in the water where everyone hates every style of fishing and thinks only their one's the right one.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's I mean, I fished paddle ski when I was younger, and then jet ski. I mean, I've been ski boats my whole life, but even while I was fishing ski boats, I fished paddle ski and then jet ski, and I think that's the key thing. I think as much as everyone likes to have a little dip at each other, and that, but at the end of the day, there's a skill set to fishing on each of those facets. I think that's something to recognize. To Jason's point, I think and I think there really I mean, there really shouldn't be any animosity. I mean, respect to the guys who have to paddle out through 6-foot surf to get on the water. Respect to the guys who's on a jet ski who has to do everything himself as well. It's not as difficult as a paddle ski. And then the guys on the boats have different challenges. So they've each got their own pros and cons, but I think you got to respect every single angler that fishes in any one of those facets. And I think it's getting there. I think it's always going to be the handful that that have a big dip. But again, it still goes back to how do you grow the sport? And I still think from an affordability and entry level point of view, I mean, definitely the paddle ski environment is what's going to continue to grow the sort of deep sea angling sport, because it makes it accessible to far more people at a more affordable rate. As soon as you get stuck into the jet skis and boats now, I mean jet skis are 400, 500K now. It's the same price as a boat. So, and the running costs that come with it. So I think the more we can pull together, just to grow the sport overall and share knowledge, I think that's the most important thing. And I think we definitely are moving in that direction. I think everyone's going to want their own patch, which is fine. You're always going to want your own club and the guys that you associate with. But I mean, it's the same as having the comps. If you have them Schlonger Festival, it doesn't exclude anyone. It's jet ski, paddle, ski boats. Bring it. Let's get on the water and may the best man win at the end of the day, or woman in most cases, some cases. I think it's just a mindset change. I mean, same in business. I mean, you can't operate in a silo and think that you're going to survive in this world. You have to share, because we're all going to have our challenges in different ways. I mean, if you look at things that do challenge clubs, and one of the reasons to be a member of a club is that if you do catch a record fish and you want to register, you have to be a member of NDSA if it's a deep sea angling fish. So I think that's crucial, and I think the tighter we get, and not to be controversial, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the paddle skis at some point have to come into be regulated, whether it's through the clubs themselves, and I think it is becoming, to Jamie what he was saying earlier about having numbers and those things, so that you can actually find guys when a ski does flip. Because the last thing we want is you want guys to go missing on skis and not to be found. And just those general safety rules.
There is a kayak fishing body that regulates kayak fishing, which sits under SAMHSA. So it's the difference is that we're not restricted to launch sites, which is the main difference.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, again, I'm not pressing the rulings on it. It's more around just but from a fishing point of view, if you want to register a fish, then you're going to have to be with NDSAA. So at some point, I mean, you want to be part of it, because you want to credit, you catch a 50-kilo wahoo on a paddle ski. It's a world record, and then you can't register it. I mean, and I think the amount to pay. I mean, I don't quote me. I think it's about maybe 100 Rand a year or something like that. Or 90 Rand, and sometimes the clubs we just cover it from our subs. We pay it anyway on your behalf. So I think that's a key part of being a member of any club. Is to make sure the club or make sure that you can be part of NDSA, so that you can register catches. Because I mean, if you do catch a world record, who wouldn't want to have that recorded? You know what I mean? Anyone would. So I think that's quite key. But the challenges on I mean, I'm Umhlonga's ski boat club, and I'm sure in any others, is just your overall running costs, of running a club, especially when you've landed on a site. Justin, I'm sure, will talk about Durban, but I mean, Umhlonga ourselves, we were very fortunate to be able to secure a site, although it's away from the sea. Our original club wasn't on the beach either. It was 2 blocks back, and we were very, very fortunate to get the club that we did in 2015. But there's running costs attached to that, and I think that's key in terms of growing the sport. And you have to diversify, because if you don't diversify, you're not going to survive off your core fishermen. There's always going to be a hardcore number of fishermen. I think even if you look at the paddle ski guys, there's going to be the similar sort of guys in the top 10, top 15, top 20, of their annual comp. It's similar in the ski boat side. When you go down to club level, you're going to have a core set of guys you're launching through summer, through winter, and that's the challenge, I think, for any club, is to be able to diversify enough and to bring in enough revenue to keep the club going, which ultimately keeps the sport going. If you lose the club, then you lose the sport. Then you lose the opportunity to have junior competitions, to host these sort of things, to have the paddle ski guys come and have their monthly meetings there and those sort of things. You lose those bases, and so that's one of the biggest challenges we face, is to diversify, but without losing sort of the core of why the club is there, and ultimately it's for fishing.
I mean, what are your biggest expenses as a club? Obviously, your fees are sort of set kind of on your expenses. Obviously, belonging to a ski boat club, which has a set, you've got rates to pay, you've got electricity bills, and you've got basically a building that you use. That your annual fees are obviously are higher than, for example, a kayak fishing club, where they have their own set of expenses, but maybe not as much as a ski boat club, because of the running costs they have. I mean, if all of you guys maybe just chip in a bit of what your sort of main expenses are, just so guys who are joining know that that's that money that they pay for the annual subs is an important fee to helping the running of the club and maintain the high standards of the club.
Well, I think obviously with regards to ski boating and talking about Durban Ski Boat Club, obviously Durban Ski Boat Club and DUC has joined under the PwC umbrella. If you've been down to that facility, it's like 100 running meters. So obviously to try and run that venue is a very, very costly exercise. But on the Durban ski boat side of things, as I said, we've got 4 tractors. If you have a repayment of a Ranger or a Hilux, now you're in for 10, 12 grand out the box. So I think to have those tractors, to be able to go down, not even put your vehicle on the beach, and to be pushed in, sometimes, especially when the Umhlonga boats come, we're putting those tractors right up to their roofs. They take a hiding, and those things are being refurbed every year. So, for 3,500 rand, including your tractor levy, I think our fees are like 2.5, and then 1,250 or odd. I know Robbie's going to have a hernia when he hears these prices, but it's small change to what they get given. And talking on a personal note, like I've gone through the competitive angling, I've got my stats of colour, and Durban Ski Boat Clubs really put their hand in their pocket, and they've helped me on my path as well. Obviously, I've given back as much as possible, but the club has been really good to me, and I think it's only fair. And as I was going to add earlier, it's if you add up your costs to go and launch at certain other clubs and things, if you launch there 4 or 5 times, you might as well just become a member. And it's also a respect thing as well. I think, you get a little bit more respect when you go to some quasi and you actually, well, I'm a paid up member, instead of going to another venue and they look at you like, well, what are you doing, that type of thing. So, I think it's very important to sponsor a club, and obviously the bigger the club, the more expenses you have. But obviously with Durban, we seem to be on the right path. It's nice to have Umhlonga back on board with us as well. Seem to be getting out of our teething problems. And again, membership's always going to be a problem. At the moment, we're going to cap it at 7,000 members of our club. So yeah, obviously the more members we have, the more money we can obviously improve our facilities. And I think from a committee's point of view, every time a committee from every club, those guys on the committee are the unsung heroes. And I think every moment that they're having their meetings, they're trying to improve the club. So I think to those guys especially as well, to keep those clubs running, and to all the guys that are sitting in front of me, you guys have done a sterling job, and I think it's the only way the sport's going to grow.
Jason, Jamie, you guys from a kayak fishing club side, you guys obviously.
Brendan, I think obviously the kite club, we don't have such high running costs. We don't have tractors, we don't have buildings and all that kind of stuff. I mean, most of the clubs, I think, are pretty much an online-based club. So we're not operating from a specific venue where we have to have high costs. It does allow us to keep the price down for members. Obviously, everything we get in, we put back to members. We're having socials regularly. We host as many comps as we can throughout the year. We do our grand slams. We do clinics for the guys to try and help the new guys. So we keep the cost as low as we can, but we try to put as much of that back into the clubs as possible. Whether it be as the socials where we give out some prizes, all the comps. When we go down to Cape Vital, we do a thing down there. We take food and drinks and stuff. So we do try and put as much in. I mean, for 300 Rand, if you think what you can get for 300 or 350 Rand for club membership, I mean, one weekend at Vital with us, you'll make that money back already. Left alone any
Sorry,
of the
sorry, Joe. Sorry, I just have to put it in context. It's one spool of fluorocarbon.
That's what I'm saying. 350 Rand. I mean, you blink a night out, your first round of drinks will probably cost you that. So for that to be at a club.
Just to reiterate, guys, that's for the year. That's your annual fee.
Yeah, that's an annual fee. And I mean, then you've got access to I mean, the whole committee. You've got all the members. I mean, you watch the Saxford Grand Slam with all the clubs, and you get a chance to interact with those people at the top of our clubs. You in the chat groups with them. You can ask them questions. And I mean, the guys have been with Grand Slam and everything. The guys have been a lot more helpful with trying to get the rest of the club up to catching fish and seeing new fish and targeting new species that before everyone would just go out and either target tuna or kuta or snook, and that was it. Whereas now we with Grand Slam in it, and the competitive side that's come from it, it's pushing guys to go out and look for new fish and ask questions and try to become better fishermen rather than just keep quiet and just go and do your own little thing. So I think it really has brought it's improving the sport and getting guys to be and also be a lot more conscious of what we're allowed to catch, what we're not allowed to catch, learning a bit more about your limits. And bring this to light, because obviously with the groups, the guys will be a lot more quick to jump on you. If you push your limits, the guys will jump up and say something. So I think it teaches the guys a lot quicker than if you were just sitting by yourself and not involved in any clubs.
Jamie,
I think what Jason says, and your point of the cost of a fluoro. If you're new to the sport and you don't know where you're fishing your kuta baits too deep and you're losing fluoro all the time, you can minimize that, shorten that learning curve, and pay less school fees by paying the 350 a month. A year. And you, like Jason says, also with the Grand Slam, it gets guys out and targeting other species. Where there's been years like Gareth last year, and well, still now, he puts out a bait and he'll get a fish. But now he's focusing on going and trying to get that queenfish, and he will hit a few blobs trying to get that queenfish. Whereas if guys would go and catch other fish and get tuna regularly or whatever it is. And I think it adds a bit of an ethical angle to the fishing as well, where you can't, if you've got your big kuta, or you're wasting your time going and fishing for that. You must go try get another species now and maybe get that big GT or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that in terms of the cost side of it, like we try and put it all back into the sport, where we started off with the 50k prize. What was it, five years ago, where the pot was sitting there, and we were even if we didn't get the entries to do it, we had the money to do it. So that's where that comes from. And now we're able to increase that prize pot and give it all back to the anglers. I mean, this year at the UKFC comp with the help of Ford, we were able to get out 150,000 rands worth of prizes to the guys. So I think also in terms of the clubs and growing the clubs, it's also a massive thing for the clubs to keep going for the likes of Basil Manning, the Kingfisher, and all those sort of guys that are distributors. Because if there's no clubs and no one fishing, it impacts them. And it's almost to the point where the guys that are getting supported by these guys should be within the clubs and giving back to the clubs. It kind of should be one of those, like I know, like Byron does with the help that he gets and gives back to the club. I think it's a very good part where it needs to be in some of the endorsement deals, so to speak, where you got to be giving back to clubs to help sell their products.
And just you touched on a very good point there in terms, you and Jason were chatting about it, is how quite specifically the kayak clubs have been quite strict on in terms of certain species that in your Grand Slam and that have to be released, and certain species that don't get targeted at all, like Darga, and like your kingfish species your queenies have to be released, your garrick have to be released. And I think, especially when we're talking about club reciprocation and doing a lot together with the likes of KZN Wildlife and DAF, KZN Wildlife being kicked out of the coast, and we've seen the sort of the damage and the long-term effect that could possibly have with them not policing the coastline, and DAF not having the manpower or whatever their excuses. It becomes quite important for clubs to help police that and educate the guys on sustaining our environment and sustaining what we love. To be able to continue to doing what we love, it starts from the top, and the clubs can push that down to their members of what are good species to target, what are species to leave alone, and teaching them good ethics. And I think the more the clubs work together like that thing.
For sure.
I think that's also a nice thing, Brendan, with the Grand Slam we've got is between all the clubs. So it's not just us, it's UKST, it's us, it's Rocks Club, it's all the different clubs, and it's all the same rules for the club. So we've all come together to have agreement that things like your kingfish should be released and garrick and that should be released, and Darga shouldn't be targeted. So it's not just like one club trying to go ahead of anyone else, but by all of us working together and getting more kayakers involved and getting more guys aware of it, it just does make it a lot easier that we're all on the same page and we're all working together for the same goal.
Yeah, so it's been I think it's been quite a big challenge. I mean, I've been fishing for about 40 years now, and I'm going to bring that topic up now. I mean, there's always guys that are going to catch and pull the ring out of any opportunity they get on fish. And then the sale of fish has been around for 40 years, as long as I've been fishing for. So it's a mindset at the end of the day. You use a handful that will always push the boundaries, go over the boundaries, break the rules, and it's going to be to the detriment of the majority. It's the usual thing. Minority, affects the majority. And I think it's just something that we have to continually work on. I think the aggression that we see sometimes on social media actually drives the opposite behavior.
Yeah, you're right.
It is.
So it drives a negative behavior, because it drives the behavior of, well, I'll show you. Don't tell me what to do. And I think we have to take a view that it's a slower curve, and it's something we have to consistently work on. And I think it's the things that, like you're doing with and I actually quite like the Devon. Actually, I was just thinking of it now. I mean, we don't have a Grand Slam at Mshongaskiva Club. I think we should really have that, because it will take you away from just targeting. Now there's the biggest cooter, biggest tuna, biggest whatever it is. And everyone's sort of going after that, which is fine. I mean, it's one fish, but it drives like a better angling regime at the end of the day. And most comps now on species anyway. So if you're trying to get Natal, fishing game fish and bottom fish, now they're all species comps as well. You're going to fish Natal and interprovincial and nationals and that. So I think that's actually, you guys are ahead of the curve there, and yeah, we should learn from it. And that's again, this is about collaborating and talking. If you have a conversation like this, it actually sparks something. So it doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. It shows you that there's better ways of doing things. Doesn't matter how clever you are.
Scott Hunter often raises a point, and he says, even just 4 or 5 years ago, guys would come out at this time of year and be happy to pose with their Garrick. Whereas now, if someone's choosing to keep their 1 or 2 Garrick, which they're allowed to, which are within their limit, no one's posting their photo. It's staying in the hatch and it's coming out, and they're keeping quiet about it because they don't want to open that can of worms to let people have a go at them. So in one way, guys will go, oh, I might as well just release it because I'm not going to get any kudos and likes and pats on the back and ego stroking. So it's instead of putting it in the hatch and keeping it quiet, they rather just put it back in the water because they're going to get more of an ego stroke by doing that than hatching a fish like that. That's under threat. So
100%.
That's a way of positively changing it, not through aggression, but just by this is what should be done.
You bring out
correct.
the big. I mean,
subtle.
we've always done that with Go Fish, the magazine side, for years as well. When you try and push the education side, we've always of the thought that if you bring out the big stick and you just like, you guys are naughty boys, folks don't listen to that. It's just like Byron says, sometimes it's frustratingly slow, but it's an education policy. It's an education and like you say, over the years you'll see the guys change their minds. I think especially now without visible policing and actual strict rules in place where they should be, the importance of clubs putting their hands up and getting involved in policing, so to speak, is a big thing now.
But even with the snook run that's gone wild now, as much as there were guys getting their 10 on regular launches, you only get 1, maybe 2 people that are posting that 10 snook hatch. Guys are like keeping a few to the side and saying, look, I've got 2 or 3 snook, because they don't want to be seen to be that oak.
Yeah.
And as much as guys know that they do, it's that slow shifting of the mindset where hopefully next time it happens, the guys are going to go, well, I've got 2 or 3. I don't need to take any more.
And I mean, I think
very sustainable during that snook run. Very, very sustainable. So
not getting on the water.
I really did like
that. I think, I mean, look, I think we could probably park this as a separate discussion, because I think it needs to be aired at some point. It's the club's responsibility is to, I believe, is to educate, and to everyone's point that's been made tonight, I think, is, the people entering the club, who don't maybe have the knowledge, that's all of a sudden coming with an undersized yellow belly, and it's their biggest fish they've ever caught in their life, through pure ignorance. And we know ignorance is bliss, or ignorance is not acceptable by law. But it's I think that's a key aspect for us to get across to any newbies that are coming in. I think that's the first point of education: undersized fish, protected species, those sort of things. And then the bigger picture is obviously what we've been talking about now. Is in terms of, okay, we've got 5 tuna. Do we really need 10? Or that sort of mindset as well, which Jamie was saying. And I think that's slowly coming to fruition. And I mean, it's the same for everyone. I'm very wary of what fish I post as well. I mean, you catch a big cracker, it doesn't mean you catch a cracker every weekend. But now, do you want to put that on because that 10 guys who possibly actually don't even know what they're talking about are going to jump down your throat, and create a whole storm about it. So again, like I was saying right in the beginning, I think it's the way you approach it, and I think it's eat the elephant one bit at a time, and definitely the mindset is changing. You're always going to have the minority that are going to go and pull the ring, and I think if you look at Australia, I've always used Australia as an example. They've got self-policing, and the only way you bring self-policing is that you get everyone on the same page. And that's always the difficulty in South Africa, is to get everyone on the same page. But it's not something that's too far away, especially with the different type of apps that are available now. It's very easy to control. Very easy to control. You don't need someone hiding in the bush, jumping out, trying to see if you've caught your 5 shad or not. To be brutally honest, it's very easily manageable, but it needs to be sustainable as well. So, but that's discussed for now. But I think as a club, though, I think as a general rule, I mean, every club knows who's pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
It comes through the grapevine, and it's up to each of us. None of us, we all live in glass houses in one way or another. But it's up to us to challenge that individual on a one-on-one, and just try and leverage some kind of mindset change. It's not going to be overnight, but I think certainly I think the paddle ski guys, I think the sort of competitions that that you run in the Grand Slam, I think does sort of almost it forces that behavior, because if you really want to be recognized, you have to go and catch those other species. So you can't go and catch 10 snook every weekend.
Yeah.
Now you have to go and find, the queenie or the prodigal or whatever the other species is. So I think that's a great initiative, and I think it's again something we can learn from, and something I'm definitely going to put forward to the committee for next year, to put into our realm as well within the club.
Just be careful, Byron. It drives you mental.
We've got species comes.
We've got a minimum size of kingfish where it's got to be over 50, and I was slow pitch jigging, and I got 5 yellow belly rock cod. I got a bonefish and about 10 black tips under 50 centimeters the other day, and it's just it made me grumpy.
No, 100%. But I mean, it brings another element to it. We've been fishing for 40 years. You want to have a different type of challenge. And it brings back that excitement. So I think that's key. It's a great idea.
Yeah,
guys, I think it's been awesome chatting to all of you, and we could actually just carry on chatting for ages. But I think like we always. We don't want to go on for too long, but there's a few topics we definitely chat on a few more times. Just before we finish, I'll just run to everyone and just ask you about event. Everyone can just say what events you got coming up before the end of the year, and how you can join your different clubs. And so guys who are out there can know how to get involved. But before we just do that, Justin, just so you know that the All Stars episode is going to be coming up soon. So maybe when you chat quickly, you can just run over that quickly, and so the guys know what's coming up on the Go Fish with Friends. I'm just on my screen here. I'll start with Jason. Any events coming up or before the end of the year, and how do guys join NCKFC, Jace?
Well, basically, if you want to join, you just go into our website, which is nckfc.co.za. You can click, there's a link there where you can join. It's got all the information. It's very simple. You just fill in your details. We obviously need all your safety information, your next of kin and all that. And then, you can do it. EFT comes through to us. We add you to the group. I mean, it's as quick and simple as that. As far as comps, we've hosted about 3 comps already this year. The weather hasn't really played very nicely. Normally we have a lot more, but every time we try to have a comp, I mean, you guys saw with the Go Fish comp, it's very hard to plan something too far in advance. But we had a 10K comp the other day, which was down the south coast. We have got another one, which is going to be quite soon coming up. We're just finalizing some dates and stuff, which we want to do around the Toti side, which is a new venue for a lot of guys. We haven't had a lot of guys fishing that side, so we've been trying to branch out and do new comps in new areas to get guys to try new things. And instead of fishing the same barge that everyone goes to every weekend or some quasi, we're trying to branch out and try new stuff. So we've still got that. We'll have the Dorado comp at the end of the year. We've got another social coming up to Cape Vital. But there's still quite a bit happening in the next couple of months.
Awesome. Shot. Jamie, from your side?
Yeah, to join UKFC, it's also just on Facebook. The website is having a bit of a nightmare at the moment, so you can join the link through there. And I often get people saying to me, clubs are not their vibe, but I think there's a club for everyone. All the different clubs have different sort of vibes to them and different setups, so that you can find a club wherever that will suit your needs. In terms of competitions, just the general in-club competitions we got, the big one next year in May. I know for the kayak guys, it's open to everyone, the Stealth Pandan trip in November, which I've not been able to go on it, but apparently that there teaches you how to fish. What you'll spend your week there learning in 1 week is what you will take 5 years to learn down here in Durban. Is sort of the information I've got. So if you're looking to speed up your learning, I think that's also get involved, get in contact with them. But yeah, I think just joining clubs is just, it's better for everyone. It's better for the whole industry, for the tackle service providers, and all that. It just makes sense to be part of a club, whatever club it may be.
Lovely, thanks. Justin, can
just drop me a message and I'll give you the Commodore's number, and he'll touch base with you. And basically, you pay your membership fee, you pay your winch fee, one-off fee, and you get given a key to the gates and you've got access to the club. With regards to Durban, obviously, just go onto our website, download our form, fill them in. Get one of the members to obviously nominate you, and then you'll go through the committee, and obviously, hopefully, if you're in good standing everywhere else, you will then be signed in. And with regards to the All-Star event, obviously, it was featured on your show a couple of months ago. Basically, what we did was as a SADSA. So as Byron spoke about Natal, SADSA oversees the entire body of all the other provinces like Southern Gauteng, NDSA, and so on. And we ran a special needs day for children with obviously difficulties, and it was a major success, and you guys will see it. I think a room of 50 men were in tears by the end of it, and unfortunately, should I say, the stars aligned, and as I've said in other interviews, more fish got caught in that All-Stars event than they did in the Durban Skiway Club Festival. So yeah, the parties did exceptionally well, and the guys really put them on the fish. To have the half cob come on the bite like they did, and to see so many polite guys reversing so another boat could pull in onto the mark, was probably the one thing you'll never ever experience again. And Byron was there to see it as well. So yeah, the guys were very polite, and I think that's what fishing is all about. You know, you took like probably 30 of the most competitive anglers and skippers in the country, and they're reversing off a mark so other oaks could get fish. It was a surreal experience. So yeah, guys will enjoy.
That's awesome. Look forward to having that up on the screens, and we'll let everyone know when that's on. BK, from your side, joining Umhlanga Skiway Club?
Yeah, very similar to Durban. You can go onto our Facebook page. You can pick up the details there. You just need to be seconded by a member, check in good standing, and you'll come through. We've got a social membership. We've got an ordinary member and we've got a skipper member. So there's 3 different memberships you can have, and then there's a large benefit as within Durban as well. You know, on your drink side. So if you versus non-member versus member at the bar, so that's great. And we've got Julio's restaurant. He serves up fantastic food there, so it's great to come and have a meal with your family. And then also just in terms of upcoming comps and events. We've got what we're doing is we bring it together now. We have our annual junior comp, which has been massively successful. You know, we normally have 80 to 100 juniors participating. And last year we launched at Durban and we launched in the harbour. So big thanks to Durban for allowing us to launch there. You know, so they almost co-host us. And we've added ladies to it as well. So we're going to do a ladies and a juniors comp together. That'll be in October. And then what we are chatting to Durban about, which was massively successful, was a junior interclub. So we went and fished up at the junior interclub, which is the only junior interclub, which is hosted by Mapelon a few weeks ago. And that was so well supported, and just great just to see all the juniors together, competitive juniors fishing together. And so we're chatting to Durban about co-hosting a junior interclub. So that's on the cards as well. We haven't set a date yet for that, but that's in the wrap. But our main junior, just our junior day or junior competition will be in October, and we're adding ladies to it as well, just to spice it up a little bit.
Oh, lovely, thanks, man. Justin, you wanted to just add something in there?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the kayak side of things, but on the ski boats, is obviously, and I both spoke about good standing. I think it's also important to understand that obviously in the fishing community, it's a close community. So obviously, if you're not in good standing in another club and you obviously suspended, a lot of the clubs down the coastline won't allow you to join their club. So I think it's important just to be assured or be made aware that obviously if you're going to make nonsense at one club, you're not going to be welcome at many other clubs, and your name will be passed from venue to venue. So yeah, it's just a bit of useless information that a lot of guys get wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's a good way of sort of keeping guys in line as well. So yeah, that's very good. Just to the viewers, we haven't really been able to touch on any questions, unfortunately, because it's just been quite a busy show with so many of us on here. I see Robin Williams said, when is the next Go Fish comp? Robin, we are planning a few things. We're actually busy plotting our next, the big jet ski comp, which is probably going to be same sort of time of year in February. But maybe one or two little things before the end of the year, hopefully. But we'll keep you posted on that. But guys, I think I think it was a different topic tonight, and it was really lekker. We could have carried on chatting all night. Jason Pretorius from NCKFC, thanks for joining us. Jamie Wardell, UKFC, thanks for popping on. Justin Painter, Umhloti and Durban Ski Boat Club, thank you. Byron Kane from Umhlonga Ski Boat Club, chairman of Umhlonga Ski Boat Club, thank you. Jason and Jamie are both chairman. Justin, you're on the committee at Durban Ski Boat Club, is that right?
I'm actually on I was on the committee for 7 years. I'm now on the board of directors at PwC, which obviously houses both clubs. And then I'm also the SADSA PRO officer.
Great, thanks, guys. These guys are all sort of the guys who are, like we said, are helping keep the sport going and keeping things consistent amongst all the clubs. So, guys, thanks for your time tonight, and thanks for joining us. We shall see everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect shot.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Cheers.
See you in the water.
See you in the water.